The jungle was loud with life, and Rhys Bannon moved through it like a shadow. His body, lean and scarred from years of survival, blended into the thick undergrowth. Sweat glistened on his neck, dripping down from unkempt hair that had long forgotten the touch of scissors. He had survived 3 years on this alien planet by being quiet, fast, and merciless when needed. He wasn't a hero. He didn't want to be. But fate never asked for his permission. A deep, rumbling growl echoed across the trees. Rhys stopped, his eyes narrowing. It wasn't the usual predators. This sound was heavier, more deliberate, the kind that made even the jungle birds fall silent. He moved quickly, crouching as he slid down a mossy slope toward the river. That's when he saw her at first. He thought she was a mirage, a tall figure with silvery white skin, long blue hair tangled with jungle leaves, and armor half ripped away. Her back was pressed to a tree trunk, and towering over her was a creature the size of a cargo truck for eyes, bristling with spikes, drool dripping from serrated jaws. Rhys didn't hesitate. He raised his weapon, a modified pulse rifle made from wreckage, and took aim. The first shot hit the beast's flank, staggering it. The second found its throat. It roared, spinning in rage, but by the third shot, it collapsed, twitching. For a moment, the jungle stood still again. The woman, no. Alien stared at him, wide-eyed, panting. Her lips trembled as if forming words, but none came. She stumbled, and Rhys rushed forward, catching her before she hit the ground. Her skin was cold, but soft, like polished stone kissed by moonlight. "You're safe," he murmured, lowering her to a patch of moss. She flinched at his voice, yellow, eyes full of terror and confusion. Then she did something unexpected. She reached up, grabbed his collar, and pulled him close. "You killed it," she breathed. "Now I am yours." Rhys blinked. "What? You saved my life? That means I belong to you now." She said it as if it were the most natural truth in the galaxy. Rhys stared at her, still crouched beside the fallen alien woman. Her silvery skin shimmered faintly under the filtered jungle light, glowing softly where the beast's blood had splattered near her. She didn't flinch. Instead, she looked at him as though he were something sacred. "I don't think you understand," he said, voice low but calm. "You don't belong to me. You killed the Korvac. I owe you my life." She touched her chest, then pointed to him. "I am Selyara, princess of the Valari ascendancy. You saved me. My life is yours." Rhys exhaled slowly, trying to grasp the gravity of what she was saying. A princess, and he'd just stumbled into her crisis with nothing more than a salvaged rifle and human instinct. He looked at the still smoking corpse of the monster, and then back to her trembling form. "Okay, so Yara." He said her name carefully. "I'm Rhys Bannon, just a man trying to survive on this backwater world. I didn't rescue you to own anything. I just didn't want to watch someone die." Her eyes shimmered with something more than awe, no confusion, maybe even curiosity. She tilted her head. "Your kind doesn't accept royal vows." "I don't think you understand humans," Rhys said with a crooked grin. "We don't do vows like that, especially not the kind that come with royal strings." So Yara struggled to stand, and Rhys offered her a hand. She took it, her grip stronger than he expected. "Then show me. If I am not your prisoner, let me see what kind of creature would risk death for a stranger." They walked through the jungle together, Rhys leading her carefully around hazards she couldn't yet perceive: sinkholes, venomous vines, camouflaged beasts. She asked questions about everything. Why he lived alone, why he hunted with old human tech, why he didn't leave the planet. Rhys answered as best he could. "Ship crashed. No one came looking. So, I adapted. I build. I survive." No one to answer. 2. Selyara paused by a strange tree that exhaled mist every few minutes. studying it as if it were art. No rulers, no hierarchy, no duty. Not out here, he replied, pushing a low branch aside. Just instinct and will. They arrived at his campless, a cabin. More a cleverly built network of platforms and shelters crafted from alien timber and scavenged ship parts. A fire pit burned low. Tools hung from branches. Vines were tied with woven strength into ladders and swings. So Yara took it all in with wide eyes. You live like this? Alone? And you? Built this all yourself? Rhys nodded and pulled a flask from his gear, pouring some purified water into a cracked cup. I wasn't always alone. There were 3 of us. Only I survived the first year. Accepted the drink and sat quietly beside him, the glow of the fire reflecting in her strange, bright eyes. You're stronger than I expected. Most humans are, Rhys said, a flicker of something proud in his voice. We don't always look it, but survival makes us sharp. Night fell over the camp as stars unfamiliar to Earth winked into view. So Yara curled a blanket around herself and stared into the fire. In my world, people like you are called relics, beings too wild to be controlled. We fear them, and yet you're sitting by one now. I don't fear you, she whispered. I feel drawn to you. Rhys turned to her. The silence between them shifted. It wasn't uncomfortable, it was full, heavy with tension. Neither of them quite understood yet. Celiara's skin pulsed faintly, a ripple of silver and violet hues moving across her arms. Suddenly, the device on her wrist chirped. Rhys jumped to his feet. What is that? Celiara looked down, eyes widening in alarm. It's my people. They found my location. Rescue party. More like a reclamation team, she said bitterly. They'll come expecting me to be weak, to obey. But I've changed. Rhys grabbed his rifle and checked its charge. Then we better decide fast. Do you want to go back, or do you want to fight for your freedom? Celiara stood, back straight, chin lifted. I want to choose my path. For once in my life. Her eyes met his. Will you help me? Rhys gave a small, almost defiant smile. I already did. The first search ship broke through the upper canopy just before dawn, its silhouette like a gleaming knife against the morning sky. Rhys spotted it from the tree-line vantage point he'd scouted hours earlier. The sleek Valari vessel hovered, with silent menace, scanning the ground below with a thin blue beam that shimmered like fog in the early light. They're early, he muttered, sliding back down to the camp, where Celiara was fitting a scavenged shoulder plate over her sleek armor. Her hair was tied back, her expression calm but alert. They always are, she said softly. Valari efficiency is obsessive. They think it's their strength. Rhys checked the traps he'd laid around the perimeter tripwires. Sonic flares, motion dampening dust. Nothing lethal, just enough to confuse and delay. We won't win a direct fight, but we don't need to. Just need to slow them long enough to make our next move. So Yara gave him a quick glance, her eyes glowing faintly. And what is our move? Rhys looked toward the jungle's deeper interior. There's an old mining relay to Click's west. No one's used it in decades, but it's shielded. We can hide there, figure out our next step. Celiara nodded. Then we move when the light shifts. Valari scans are weakest when the sun crests. She followed him closely as they moved through the underbrush, weaving between thick roots and phosphorescent growths. Rhys led the way with quiet efficiency, every footstep careful, every breath measured. Celiara, for all her alien grace, moved like she was born for this. Now light, fast, silent. At one point, a probe swept low across the jungle. Rhys yanked her beneath a fallen log, holding her close as the light passed inches above them. Her body pressed tightly against his, and for a moment, neither of them breathed. The relay shelter offered only a few hours of safety. As night fell, the jungle beyond pulsed with tension. The stars above glowed like distant fires, and Reese sat by the cracked wall, his pulse rifle resting across his knees. Beside him, Soyara cleaned a small blade with quiet focus, her hands steady despite the bruises on her arms. "They'll regroup," he said. "I know," she replied without looking up. Reese studied her. The pale, delicate woman he'd first seen cowering from a monster had vanished. This Soyara moved with confidence, her eyes sharp, her voice steady. She'd adapted and quickly, but something else had shifted in her. Not just survival instinct, purpose. "What do you think they'll do when they catch us?" he asked, testing her resolve. "They'll separate us," she said simply. "Deprogram me. Remind me who I'm supposed to be. And if you don't, go quietly." Her gaze lifted to meet his, glowing like molten gold. "Then they'll try to erase me." Reese looked away for a moment. "I don't like the sound of that. I don't like living in a cage," she answered. There was a long silence. Outside, the jungle sang its night song low, echoing calls and distant rustles. It wasn't peaceful, but it was real. "You've changed," Reese said softly. "I had to," she said. "My world taught me rules. Yours taught me truth." He gave her a curious glance. "You live wild, free, even when you're alone and forgotten. You don't surrender. That's more strength than any army I've ever seen." Reese leaned back, letting her words settle. "You think humans are strong? I know you are. You adapt faster than we ever imagined. And your heart," she paused, her voice softening, "your heart doesn't follow logic. It follows conviction." She moved closer, until her shoulder brushed his. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I was bred for duty, trained to serve, ordered to obey. But around you, I feel like I'm finally becoming myself." Reese looked at her, really looked at her beyond the shimmering skin and glowing eyes, beyond the alien armor and titles. What he saw was someone unlearning everything she was taught, and still choosing to stand beside him. "I don't want to lose this," he said quietly. "You won't," she whispered. "Not unless you push me away." A sudden flash lit the sky outside, blue beams lancing down, accompanied by a low-frequency hum. The sound of another ship, a larger one. Reese sprang to his feet. "They're bringing reinforcements." Soyara stood quickly, drawing the blade she had sharpened. "That's not just a scout ship. It's a council vessel. High-level retrieval team." "They're not coming to negotiate," Reese said grimly. "No," she agreed. "They're coming to claim me like property." Reese glanced around. "We need to make this place useless to them." Soyara moved to the central console, her fingers dancing over the interface. "I can overload the relay core, disable its tracking and corrupt their scans, and the explosion. It'll light up the sky." Reese grabbed his gear and a spare charge pack. "Then we vanish in the smoke." They worked fast, synchronizing the relay's meltdown sequence with Soyara's internal tech. She encoded false DNA patterns into the air scrubbers, mimicking the trace of their bodies fleeing in the opposite direction. As the core hummed louder and heat filled the chamber, Soyara looked at him. "If this fails, it won't," he said. "But if it does," she insisted, stepping close, "I want to remember this moment." Her hands cupped his face, and she kissed him. It wasn't soft. It wasn't desperate. It was a vow. When they pulled apart, the relay walls were shaking. Warning lights flashed red. "Time to disappear," Reese said, grabbing her hand. They ran together through the back shaft as the world behind them erupted in flame and light. From the lean, they watched the relay go dark. The council vessel descended in confusion, landing in smoke and heat. Scanners would find nothing but data ruins and a scrambled trail. Soyara leaned into Reese, breathless. "They'll think we're gone." Reese looked at her with a crooked smile. "Then let's make it true." She laced her fingers with his. "I don't want to be a princess anymore," she whispered. I want to be free. With you. Reese pulled her close. Then, let's vanish together. And just like that, the jungle swallowed them whole. When the danger passed, Soyara whispered, "You smell like fire and earth. Not the worst thing you could smell in a survivalist," he replied with a half-smile. They reached the old mining relay just as the ship's shadow curved in the opposite direction. Reese led her inside the collapsed tunnel entrance, and they pushed deeper through the ruined structure until they found the relay's central hub dome, cold but intact. "It's perfect," she whispered, wiping dust from a broken console. "We can stay hidden here." Reese leaned against a wall, letting out a slow breath. "We've bought time, but they won't stop. They'll try to retrieve me by force," Soyara said quietly. "I'm not just a princess. I'm their bargaining piece. My marriage was supposed to unite two rival clans. And now?" Reese asked. Soyara stepped closer to him, her silver skin catching the flickering light from a battery lamp he'd rigged up. "Now I've kissed a human, bled beside one, chosen my own future. That makes me a traitor to their plan." Reese raised an eyebrow. "Didn't realize I was that irresistible." A soft laugh escaped her lips. "It wasn't your charm, it was your truth. You risked your life for someone you didn't know. You expect nothing in return. No politics, no power, just instinct." Reese looked away for a moment, as if uncomfortable with the praise. "You sure about this? You still have a choice." Soyara reached up, touching the side of his face with her cool fingers. "I made my choice when you pulled that trigger and saved me from the Korvac." A low hum interrupted the moment. Reese turned, fast his sensors were going off. A second ship had landed nearby. "They're closing in," he said. Soyara didn't flinch. "Then it's time they see the new me." Reese grinned. "We're outnumbered, outgunned, no backup." She looked him in the eye. "But we're not out of hope." They moved quickly, setting up decoys and rerouting old power channels to send false readings. By the time the Valari squad broke through the outer walls, the only thing waiting for them was silence and shadows. One soldier moved forward and tripped a sonic snare. The explosion didn't harm him, but it knocked out their scanning helmets. In the chaos, Reese and Soyara struck. They fought not like soldier and scientist, but like a single force, with fluid, calculated movements enhanced by alien agility. He, with brutal precision, learned from survival. When the last Valari scout collapsed unconscious, the jungle had grown quiet again. Soyara stood beside Reese, her chest heaving, a smear of mud across her cheek. "They won't stop. More will come." Reese wiped blood from his brow. "Then we'll keep moving." She took his hand. "Together." He nodded. "Together." Weeks passed. The jungle changed with the season, growing thicker, darker, richer, with color and life. Reese and Soyara had become ghost shadows slipping between patrols, leaving no trace. The Valari had expanded their search, but found only empty trails and sensor noise. No signals, no heat, no Soyara. They had stopped looking in the wrong places, because Reese had taken her somewhere. No logic could follow deep into the southern craterlands, a place humans once deemed uninhabitable. Volcanic, unstable, veiled by storms and dense magnetic fields. But Reese had learned its paths, and in a high cavern cloaked by stone and mist, they built a new life. It wasn't much, just a fire pit, sleeping pelts, a water recycler, and warmth of survival, of shared laughter, of slow-blooming peace. One morning, Reese woke to the sound of quiet humming. Soyara stood outside the cave mouth, watching the sunrise filter through crimson fog. Her silver skin glowed faintly. Her hands rested gently over her belly. He came to her side, squinting at the light. "You've been up a while." She nodded. "It's happening." He turned to her slowly. "Are you sure?" She reached for his hand and placed it over her stomach. The warmth beneath her skin pulsed softly. Not dangerous live, I'm sure, she said. For a long moment, Reese couldn't speak. His chest tightened with something too big for words. A child. Not just a child. Their child. Something impossible, by both their world's logic. Something undeniable. You're not scared? He asked. She looked into his eyes. I've never felt more free. Reese wrapped his arms around her. Her cheek rested against his bare chest. The moment was quiet. Whole. Then she pulled back slightly. They'll come again, she said. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But one day, they'll find us. Reese nodded. Then let them come. This time, they won't be chasing a runaway princess. They'll be facing a family. She smiled, a slow, radiant thing that curled through the early light like fire through smoke. Their child grew fast. Faster than human biology allowed. Faster than Valari records could explain. But it wasn't just speed. It was strength, stability, intelligence. Reese had always believed humanity's power was its will. Now, seeing that same fire in his child's golden eyes, he believed it was something more. The ability to adapt, to love without explanation. To bend logic into something beautiful. So Yara watched over the child, like a warrior priestess, not with control, but with pride. Not long ago, she had been a pawn in a political game. Now, she shaped futures with her hands. One night, Reese found her outside again, watching distant lights blink across the sky. Scouts, she said. They're closer, he replied. She didn't look away. I'm not running this time. He stepped beside her. I wasn't going to ask you to. The Valari didn't descend in force. No armies, no ships screaming war, just a single vessel. Sleek, silver, humming with quiet purpose. A door opened. A tall Valari elder stepped out, robes flowing, hands raised. We are not here to take, he said in their tongue. We are here to understand. Selyara stepped forward, calm and proud. Then you'll have to learn from what I've become. Behind her, Reese held their child skin shifting, softly between pink and pale violet, eyes bright like stars. The elder looked upon the child, stunned. It lives, it thrives, Selyara said, because love built it. For a long moment, the elder simply watched. The jungle hushed. Then, at last, he bowed low. We were wrong about humans. And about me, she added. Reese came too. Her side, their child cradled in one arm. We don't need your approval, just your silence. You will have it, the elder said. But no, this others may come, others less willing to accept what you've become. Selyara looked to the trees, the sky, the life growing around her. Let them. I will never go back. The elder nodded once, then turned and left. The ship rose and vanished without sound. Later that night, with the stars glowing soft and distant, Selyara lay beside Reese and their child, her hand tracing slow patterns across his chest. I was meant to rule, she whispered. And now? He asked. I've found something greater. He kissed her gently. You've found freedom. No, she said, her eyes glowing gold in the firelight. I've found you, and in the heart of a jungle that feared no storm, a love born from survival, burned quietly, forever.